Well, Jochen Bertela last year in Anaveco Eurotrack has changed the machine but not the make for this season. It still stayed strongly attached to the Aveco mark. Likewise, Frank Langenberg with his goat. This is, we just saw Felix Jacobi in trouble, and Jörg Engelmann, his co-driver, the last of the Class 3 trucks. Now we're going to look at the prototype machines, and as you can see, there's not an awful lot that MOT testers would be very happy about with these machines. They are strictly for the woods. We're all in zone 13 at the moment. Zone 13, rather self-descriptively named the Stone Zone. Although how you can call those stones is a bit beyond me. The Rock Zone. This is 601, Wolfgang Bulles and Thomas Friesenfischer from Germany. And although Wolfgang Bulles is a long-time exponent of truck trialling, he has never had a co-driver before, or never had a passenger before, at any rate, in competition. So how he will settle down with Thomas remains to be seen. And Wolfgang Bulles' unique prototype, the Bulles Trail Mog. I think you can probably tell where its mechanical heritage comes from in the words or the partitioning there of Mog at the end. Now one of the Class 7 machines, in fact one of the two Class 7 machines, there are only a pair of them. This is Elias, originally. Bohuslav von I knew I was going to get it right, von Sofsky, senior, is the driver. Josef Frodel from Germany, his co-driver. Bohuslav von Sofsky Senior is from the Czech Republic. And it's the only Elias entry this year. The team running into financial problems. And they have combined last year's driver from their number 1 machine with the co-driver from their number 2 machine, coming up with Bohuslav and Josef as a pairing. And 702, the other truck in the prototype 2 category, Class 7, Josef Enger and Fritz Hulob of Austria. And they are in a Ural 4320. Eight tons, 6-wheel drive, 180 kilowatts of power, compared to their rivals in the Liaz, 6.5 tons, so a ton and a half lighter, only 4 wheels, but 400 kilowatts of power. So Bohuslav Vonovsky, with over double the power and a ton and a half lighter, should be a shoe-in in this category. Of course, things don't always go that way. But at the moment, certainly, the Austrians seem to be struggling a little in the zone. Now, here is something else that you'll be instantly familiar with, the control tower with things dragging along behind it. That is the very distinct look of the Timberjack. Now, we saw these out last year, and they have had their own category created for them this year because they are quite unlike anything else at all, as you can see, or as you will see in different shots. Very, very specialised machine indeed. And you might gather from the name Timberjack that they are used extensively in the logging trade. This is prototype category 3 then, and it's a Timberjack category only. In actual fact, they might as well say it's a Rauber brother category only, because the 2 entries, 801 and 802 that we're looking at, are entered by the Rauber brothers from Germany. This is Reinhard Rauber, 802. And his brother Helmut in 801 is his only opposition in the category. So whatever happens, old man Rauber, their father, if he's around, is going to have a son that wins every one of the rounds. Helmut, the brother driving 801, won the 96 European title in the Prototype 2 category. So they created this new category, so he'd have something else to win, and everybody else in Prototype 2s would get a bit of a fair look in, because it's fair to say that Timberjack, although it didn't win all of the rounds, certainly was a very dominant force. So this one Timberjack, 2 drivers, 2 entry numbers, 801 and 802. So it looks like a fairly clean sweep for the season in Class 8, I would say, for Timberjacks on the whole. Well, stay with us here on Eurosport for more truck trial action after these words. Rocks providing 0 grip. And the crew here of 111, Karol Kunel and Otik Brown from the Czech Republic, having a lot of problems trying to get their Tatra to move in any direction whatsoever. This is Class 1, the smallest of the production classes for trucks up to 3.8, 4 tons overall weight. And Tatras and the smaller Unimogs are going to very much predominate here. You see a lot of these vehicles with minimal weather protection. Thomas Fleckenstein, the driver, stalling it and having the common fan belt squeal we've heard from a lot of these vehicles once they get wet. Martin Dierschädel, his co-driver. Number 107, Unimog 404. And you can see just what they're up against here now. Low pressure is not enough in these tyres. They need a little bit more to try and give them any sort of purchase in these very, very slippery conditions. And all this time spent with all 4 wheels spinning rather helplessly is time lost. This is zone 13. It's got a long 12-minute time allowance, but all of that and more will be needed by some of these vehicles to get through here. As you can see, Fleckstein and Dierschädel really struggling to find any sort of traction at all. Finally, they do discover a way through. And you can see now perhaps why walking the course is so important. You can see there, just in that close-up of the marker pole as well there, 4 different colour bands on it, black, green, yellow and red. So that was a common marker for all classes. Some of them do have different colours on, and one of the other reasons for walking the course in the morning is to find out which bit of stick you should be aiming to miss closest, as opposed to heading off in the wrong direction. So another Category 1 vehicle, Class 1, Jens Peter Vollstedt and Klaus Rasmussen from Germany. Vollstedt, a regular in the championship. New co-driver this year, though. And Klaus Rasmussen, clearly of Scandinavian extraction originally. Last year, Jens Peter Vollstedt was co-driven by Jörg Hoffmann. Well, he's jumped ship and changed to one of the larger categories. We've already seen him in action earlier on in the programme. This is Michael Verhele. And we were just watching Vladimir Jakicek and Lukas Narada of the Czech Republic before Michael. Michael, the only Swiss in the competition. Not only is he only Swiss in the competition, indeed he's the very first Swiss ever to enter the competition. As you'll have gathered from the crews that we've seen already, it is a largely German contingent. Quite a large number of entries from the Czech Republic. After the round there last year generated so much interest. A few from Austria, a couple from France. That's pretty much the size of it. Did I leave out the Dutch? Probably. Oh dear, shouldn't have done that. 112 then. Karl-Heinz Ittrell and Oliver Merkert from Germany. And again there, Mercedes-powered Unimog bouncing its way to success. Michael Verhele, by the way, in a Unimog 600. And we just saw now this Unimog 101, something of a success story, it's fair to say. Husband and wife pairing, Ronald and Rita Bormann. And boring in their consistency. Well, not boring in their approach, but utterly ruthless in their consistency, at least. They have never lost an event that they've entered since they entered their first truck trial 7 years ago. Now, if that's not some sort of consistency record to match any other in motorsport, I would be surprised to hear of a better one. Just leaving the pole at an angle there, but getting through unscathed. And Ronald and Rita have been really the success story of the truck trialling seasons over the last 7 years. And their faithful Unimog 406 carrying them time after time to victory. And with that sort of experience and that sort of a comfortable pairing working together, it's very difficult indeed to come up with a winning formula against them. Trouble then for the Bormanns. And well, Ronald may have stalled the engine, but he has finally got his left front out of that cavernous hole. And going back to have another think. Now, while the speed of these vehicles is obviously very much at walking pace and below in a lot of instances on the course, you can see quite clearly just from this short bit of footage, that it is a fairly cerebral affair. However, particularly with the larger categories, and especially with the big 813 Tatras, once the things start to move in a direction that the driver had not anticipated, it all happens very quickly indeed. So having the experience of the vehicles in all these conditions is really vital. Now, Ronald is starting to struggle a little on this one. Don't forget the clock ticking away as well. This is his fourth stab here, and just in front of his right front is that big hole that he's been finding a great deal of trouble getting round. Doesn't seem to be able to find a way of straddling it. Again, you can see the very, very low tyre pressures all these vehicles are running. As the tyre flexes around the obstacles, trying to give maximum traction. Tyre pressures down in single figures and approaching zero in some cases. Not strictly true, of course, well up in single figures, probably 5 or 6 psi in some of them. And that helps not only in the very soft going that is prevalent, particularly on this second day of the event, but also, of course, on the rocks where, as with trials motorcycles, a squishy tyre does help to give you a little bit of purchase, very much like curling your toes around the edge of something, perhaps, to try and get a bit more bite from it. Ronald again finding the hole, and again unable to come up with an answer to it. And this, in fairness, quite an unusual state of events. Hello then, here comes the fire brigade, safety helmet of Jackie Ribot and his co-driver, unseen by us, Stéphane Vallat. Jackie Ribot showing the very easy way through there by avoiding that massive hole in the middle altogether and skirting around the edge. And that's clearly something that Ronald and Rita could have done with seeing before they went into this section rather than afterwards. Jackie Ribot and Stéphane Vallat from France. And yes, they're in a Unimog 406 as well. Long-time faithfuls to the truck trialling ethos, the only French crew in the entire event. Doing a very good job indeed here as well. I rather sense that they've got a slightly better grip on this section, zone 13, than the Bormans did. The Bormans having a very, excuse the pun, rocky time of it. Jackie Ribot comparatively breezing through. Well, the climax of the event still to come. And more trucks, more mud, more rocks, and probably more rain as well. Join us in a moment for more action from Sluknau in the Czech Republic. We'll be back in a moment. Don't put that kettle on. Welcome back, and welcome to our first look at the Class 4 trucks. This is the Class 4 production vehicle, 407, of Norbert Palke and Thomas Gustafsson from Germany, Ural. And you can see the heavy lifting gear being brought in to drag some of the vehicles out of trouble. This is zone 16, one of the easier ones, and as a result one of the quicker ones as well. Only 8 minutes to get through this. Now we can see zone 3, a much tougher one with this big log pile in the middle. 402, this is Helmut Kröpfel and Hermann Ancini in their Steyr. Two Austrians. And romping through the mud earlier, we saw Peter Niedergesass and Thomas Steckling and Gregor Haas from Germany. They were in 409, all new to the sport, and in their Ural really enjoying themselves in that fast muddy section. Kröpfel and Ancini here, making the forestry piles look very easy indeed. Do not be misled. Still in zone 3, and a very different approach to it from Ajay Friend Krugten and Patrick Burr of the Netherlands. Tow rope there being used, or the hawser, to drag themselves free. This is Stock to Ton and Ron van Kemeren from Holland. 410 machine. Another of the Tatras. And a lot of these vehicles finding themselves getting a little bit stuck. This is, that was 403, Andreas Pusch and Michael Landmann of Germany stuck on the rocks. Back in zone 3, Norbert Palke and Thomas Gustafsson, also of Germany, getting themselves stuck on the log pile. Told you it wasn't as easy as it looked early on. And there Ural finding that six-wheel spinning does not give you the best of traction. Finally fighting their way through. Still the logs, 408. Mercedes-Benz of Hermann Kreienberg and co-driver or assistant Roland Nordenbruch. Initially finding the transfer case limiting their clearance and dragging their way through. And this seems to be a fairly common approach. Try not to get the vehicle hung up all six wheels or all four wheels on the forestry. Bit of a snowplow effect going on there, as the front of the machine tries to push everything out of the way. Back to the slippery stones in zone 13. And still these wet, muddy rocks proving very much to be a handful. This is Wolfgang Bitzer and Franz Eigner of Germany in 401. You can see them being craned up out of the way. The power shovel being brought in to rescue even the most hazardously stuck machines. Well, the end of the competition and the competitors totting up their points. Stefan Vallat, the co-driver at 102, checking their point score and double checking it again, because sensation of sensations, for the first time in 7 years, Ronald and Rita Borman have been beaten, and Jackie Rebo has won his first ever Europa Cup. There he is with his fireman's helmet on. Jackie Rebo in his Unimog 406, number 102, overturning the most successful run of form imaginable, to take an against the odds in every single way victory in this first Europa truck trial of 1997. And was he happy? Well, what do you think? Very happy indeed, he said. You know, it's a very big thing for me, particularly when you see the success that the Bormans have had, and Olaf Hoffmann in